So let me just say, this is going to be on the longer side. The opinions expressed in here are that of individuals and not of any municipality or organization. I'm going to have a guest on. I'll introduce him in a second. Topics may include birthday, kill her, hunter, puppy, two dogs on a corner, a friend in Austria, GoFundMe, teamwork, and safety. So if that sounds like your bailiwick, feel free to join and stay or what have you. Anyway, I'm going to try to connect my friend Brian. And good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Let's see. Accept. So Brian, good morning, Brian.
Hey, Tom. How are you? Can you hear me? You hear
Yeah,
me okay?
I can hear you. Brian, pronounce your last name because I always say it wrong.
How do you think it goes?
Well, I know it's not Gilles, right?
It's what? Say again?
It's not
No.
Gilles.
No. Close.
And it's not Giles.
No.
And it's not Giles.
Nope.
Gilles?
Mm-mm.
No. Go ahead. Let me off the hook.
It's Gilles.
Gilles. So this is Brian Gilles. And Brian is a volunteer with the city of Los Angeles, predominantly at West Valley. He is what I would call a hardcore volunteer. He's like a 5-day-a-week volunteer.
7 right,
some of you,
right now.
7 days a week.
Right
there you
now,
go, 7 days a week.
Right now, yeah.
Brian, you and I met. Did we meet on at a rally initially, or did we meet at the shelter originally?
I thought we met before the rally. I mean, you know, maybe not in person. I think in person at the rally.
At the rally. Yeah. So good friends with Claudia, who a lot of you know. He's also good friends with Ryan, who I've met at the shelter. Tell me a couple of the people that you volunteer with there at West Valley, some of the major hitters.
Well, there's Ryan, there's Lucy, Lucy's there 7 days a week. She's been there for years. There's Melissa, there's Megan, there's Kat and Kaya, there's Ian. I'm forgetting somebody.
Yeah, that's all right. Right.
Gina.
So
great.
I really like the team up there. I've met many of them. I haven't met all of them. I've worked with many of them, and I think you guys. I've seen you guys do extra feedings, cleanings, helping the staff when the staff asks for help, helping the public, socializing animals, trying to get animals seen, trying to get animals rescued. So I'm really impressed with the positive nature up there at West Valley. So I thank you and the group that's up there. I was there yesterday, and I got there to see you out with a dog named Hunter. And you were working Hunter with who?
Michelle. I forgot Michelle.
And so tell me a little bit about Hunter, because I have to admit that the story of Hunter kind of broke my heart when I heard it, and then I can't seem to get over it today. Hunter is red listed and probably won't make it till tomorrow morning, or tomorrow morning is the time he is scheduled to be euthanized. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Yeah.
So, I believe so.
So by the way, just for disclaimer purposes, again, we're not speaking in behalf of any municipality. We don't claim to have the facts. If you want to know the facts, then contact an official or the staff. But this is our understanding at the best of our knowledge. So with that said, let me say what affected me with Hunter, and the story I heard, and I heard it again this morning from Missy or Melissa. Let me see if I can add something. No. I wanted to add video, but I don't think I can when you're on there, or pictures. But the story I heard is that Hunter was a loyal dog of a gentleman for years, and then he had a physical decline where he ended up in a wheelchair, and he continued to decline. And I guess his wife tried to help him out of the wheelchair the other week, and Hunter mistook the sounds of agony from the male owner as possibly an attack and bit the wife. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
To your knowledge.
Yeah.
So I just woke up kind of devastated that here's a dog that someone owned for 10 years that was literally being loyal and protecting the person that he was loyal with. And I don't blame the wife. I do not blame the wife at all. But it's just sad that the shelters are so crowded right now that, and the rescues are so packed and can't take in dogs, that this dog Hunter that sounds like a lovely, loyal, beautiful, trusted dog for a decade, unfortunately is going to be put down. And that's not to blame anybody. It's just the sad situation of the state. Anything that I said that you kind of disagree with or agree with?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with it all, and I'm, I just met him for the first time yesterday.
Yeah,
and,
as did I, and as did Michelle, yeah. Correct?
And besides being a little bit nervous, he was sweet.
Right.
He warmed up quickly. So
yeah, I just
sad.
So I took a break from. Sometimes I go to Baldwin Park on Saturdays, but I just had to change. I'm fatigued compassionately, or have compassion fatigue, and I had to mix it up. So I went to West Valley to record a testimonial with Ryan, and to meet people I haven't met before at West Valley, and to work with some people that aren't able to get there on the day I get there in the morning, and help them with some dogs. But I just came home, and even though I worked, usually you and I work on Thursday mornings together, or Thursday afternoons, and as you know, I go up there predominantly to take out dogs that have never been walked or haven't been walked in a long, long time, or require a certain level of behavior or strength or whatever, and some of them we have to back each other up with. So I just thought yesterday I could go up and meet some dogs that people were fans of, or that didn't get enough PR, and not necessarily were the longest on the list. So I just wanted to, and I wanted to meet new people as well. So that's why I went up yesterday. But I was so shocked with how many dogs were doubled up in kennels, or I saw a couple triples.
Yeah.
And I mentioned dogs on a corner, 2 dogs on a corner, because that also has stuck with me, and woke up with that, is those 2 dogs on that corner, by no fault of anybody. I was just avoiding that corner because every time I walked by with a dog, the dogs would key up, and they would start arguing with the dog outside the kennel, and then start arguing with each other in the kennel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know what the staff is supposed to do about that. Do you take them and put them inside where no dogs, no people walk by, which doesn't exist?
Yeah.
And then nobody can see them. Do you split them up and put them in kennels that don't exist because there's no room? Do you pick one to euthanize because we're out of space? Like, it's just the situation is tragic, in my opinion. It's beyond tragic. And I'll just add one more thing. I heard from another one of the volunteers that was there last night, and I don't know if you heard, but apparently there was a puppy put with a dog because of lack of space. And I left at 5, and apparently right after I left, the older dog, I don't know if the word's correct, but mauled the puppy, and staff and the volunteer had to get in there and save the puppy's life. And again, that's no fault of either dog. It's highly stressful, but I don't know what the answer. I do know what my answers are, but I don't know what the actual answers are for the solution. There's too many dogs coming in. Baldwin Park the other day, I was in the yard watching and listening to all the dogs coming in on the radio, and there were 5 times more dogs going in or coming in than were even seen by potential adopters. So there were only 2 calls to show dogs, and there were, 10 calls for dogs that were coming in, and some of them may have been multiple dogs. Um,
Mhm. I'm
and so that, go
uh,
ahead. Sorry, Brian.
no, just I'm still amazed every day at how many dogs are either coming as strays or owner surrenders. It's just, they stay in the intake room sometimes for a couple days before they're even um, booked in.
Yeah,
Um, and then once they finally clear them out of there, it fills back up
right.
within that, within a few
Yeah,
hours.
I've told people that if you got a magic bus and filled it with half the dogs at the shelters, it would still be too crowded. And then if you got another magic bus and got half of those dogs out, so it was a half filled shelter, within a month it would be packed again. And so
Yeah,
the answer, in
yeah,
my opinion, is spay and neutering, education, training of humans as well as dogs, and just a knowledge that animals are not iPhones and they have glitches just like we have glitches. I wish that I could share a picture because I posted a cartoon that I found about the two dogs talking about one of their owners about like sometimes he's grumpy and whatever. And I just think like if we were judged the same way that some people judge animals, almost all of us would be at shelters, right? Like dogs argue
yeah,
using their mouth and they speak using their mouth and they
yeah.
correct us using their
Right,
mouth. And
right.
not every creature in the world is always chipper 100% of the time.
Yeah.
So that's what I see it as the answer. And uh,
Well, and most people don't even, when we hear a dog has a bite, most of the time it's not, not intentional. It's like it's a
100% agree
redirection,
with you. Yeah.
and that
And
shouldn't even count
right,
as a bite.
right. I agree. I sometimes think that we need to learn the terminology correct because sometimes someone will say maul and I'll be like, do you really mean maul? Because that means something else other than bite or snap or is mouthy.
Right.
And same thing with bite. Like bite has a really negative connotation, but sometimes it's a correction or they nipped
Hmm.
or they put their mouth or they mistakenly broke skin by playing or whatever. So yeah, I think that that's part of the education of the system that we need to do, and honestly, the transparency that hasn't been being done with the system. And I have been a proponent of that on my Instagram for a long time. Like, let's say what it is and stop worrying about sugarcoating words. And let's tell people that it's not a rehoming service, that yes, some animals do get out, and that's lovely, and we should celebrate that. But a lot of dogs and cats and bunnies get euthanized. And I'm not allowed to say what that really means, but look up what euthanize means, and you'll know what it means. And obviously, I'm allowed to say it, but then I get flack from the systems.
Really?
But it's
Really?
yeah. If you say the K word, um,
Right.
you get flack, and
Hmm.
that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
that
Let's
is.
be honest. People
Yeah.
who are surrendering their animals, in my opinion, should have to sign a contract that states that they're aware of the statistics that that dog is either going to be freaked
Yeah.
out, scared, reactive, bite somebody at the shelter, not get adopted, come up with a upper respiratory tract infection. Like they should have to sign every single one of those that they're aware of that. But no, we just make it okay. Yeah, sure, we'll take your dog. And I don't disagree with it because they'll dump their dogs, a lot of them, if we don't take them. But
Right.
let's make people aware and let's get on the news and use their platform. I'm talking the celebrities and the mayor and the GM and the head of everything. And let's call it as it is because the PR people in the past have just made it all rosy and glossy. And everyone thinks it's some super med, some super resort.
I, you
And it's a scary place. And no matter how much you clean a kennel, and you clean a lot of kennels, and so do a lot of your people at West Valley, no matter how fast you can clean a kennel, it's going to have poop in it soon after because the dogs aren't getting out. And so a lot of venom is towards the system and the employees and whatever else. But the reality is there's just too many animals going in. And not to say that there aren't other things that should be corrected, but there's just too many animals going in. And uh, the systems between this county and the city. The county has a higher euthanization rate, but they don't have any doubled up kennels, and they don't believe in that because they believe in sort of responsible kenneling, and that's the public's choice. The public makes the choice to bring in the dogs, surrender the dogs, dump their dogs, and not adopt the dogs. And so the public is speaking like, okay, what do you expect them to do? That's your vote. Your vote is you'd rather buy animals in a parking lot than adopt dogs. And I don't agree with it. You don't agree with it, but it's sadly the truth, right? Would you
Yeah,
agree?
absolutely. And just to add to that, I'm sorry. I get asked every day. People say you're no-kill shelter, right? And I'm like, no. People are still under the illusion that we're no-kill shelter
Because of all the publicity that all these organizations did for so many years to make themselves look better politically and get their promotions or get their bonuses or whatever the reason was, I don't know. But the truth and transparency will fix some of the issue, I think. So,
and that being said, I think also when somebody is surrendering their dog, they should have to walk through the kennels and just see the situation that's going on.
100%. And that's why I said, like, they should have to sign the contract and they should see it. And
Yep.
I think they should all get phone calls the week before those dogs are going to get put down.
100%.
And although I would love to see them build for the euthanasia rates, that's not ever going to happen because people won't do it, or people just dump the dog as strays because they don't want to get billed.
Right.
And people have said you should charge them when they surrender, but they tried that and people just dumped it down the street.
Yeah.
So people are shit. Like, there's a lot of shitty people, and there's a lot of cheap people, and there's a lot of scared people, and there's a lot of people that lie when they surrender an animal because they don't want to look bad.
Absolutely. They'll even come up with a fake bite.
Right. Yeah.
Not understanding what's going to happen to the dog with that.
So this happened to me the other day at county. Someone contacted me about a dog that was surrendered by, I'm going to make this vague, surrendered by a family member for 2 bites attacking family members. The relative of that person wants to pull the dog out, but the dog is so freaked out in the shelter system that the behavior team can't assess the dog safely. And that person is now, I believe, has hired a lawyer to give the county shit for not letting them take the dog that doesn't belong to them to begin with, that their relative surrendered with this horrible history. And it's like, what do you expect the county to do? Like, someone surrendered that dog with either lies or truth that have doomed that dog. And the dog is so freaked out that nobody feels like they can safely handle the dog. And I'm not allowed to touch those dogs at the county. There's different rules. And now you're upset that you can't take the dog back out. Like, the only way that dog can go out is if the person who surrendered that animal rescinds their story and takes the dog out themselves. And they don't want to do that for some reason. So why are you blaming the county? Like, it makes no effing sense.
Yeah.
But that's the society we live in. Everyone wants to point blame at the municipalities, and they're not perfect by a long shot. But that's just crazy talk to me. And I understand the love for this animal, but it's like, direct your anger at where it should be directed. Anyway, so
your relatives.
Yeah, right, exactly. And it's a very close relative, apparently. So, which all this comes
not
to, like,
that close, I guess.
well, exactly. I don't know what the situation is. But so I wrote a script, and I talked to you about it after I saw your art, because on your Instagram page you have a lot of interesting black and white or off color, not the off, like muted color, I guess is what it's called. I'm not an artist, so I don't know how to call it. And political cartoons and illustrations. And I thought, because we're on the same page with so many animal issues, that maybe if you read the script that I wrote in order to address some of these issues, to hopefully get to the people outside of our chorus, to the mainstream, to the young, to the people that I'll never come in contact with. in this country, in this city, in the state, in other countries. And so I thought I would ask you to see if you'd be willing to draw a couple illustrations from the script in order to try to help generate some interest in the project, so I could generate some funds coming in so I can hire people to help me get it moving. And you read the script and you agreed to do a few illustrations. So do you have the iPad with you that you? So I found out yesterday from Brian when we were talking that he does all these illustrations on his iPad with what's the tool that you use?
Well, I use an app, and I use my Apple Pencil, which is
That's
somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what I did.
Anyway, do you have one of the illustrations? Because I can't seem to.
I do.
So if you go on my GoFundMe, or the GoFundMe, I should say, there's 4 of his illustrations. I don't know if he's going to do another one in the future, but I love the ones he's done.
I'll do whatever.
Yeah.
I'll do whatever.
So that was the first one that you did, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's just an image that sort of captivates some of the emotion and the feeling of the script. I don't want to tell too much about the script at this point. But tell me about the process of your art in drawing, how you draw.
Well, I mean, with this particular project?
Yeah.
Well, I was on board before I read the script. But reading the script, it's just so full of just rich imagery. And so, there were some ideas that you had, and there's a couple ideas that I had, and I really, it was pretty easy actually to have those images.
Yeah, and so what you use the pencil, and you would draw me sort of a rough sketch,
right?
And
yeah.
That we would discuss the sketch, and I thought most of them were basically right on. I think the one with the monster in the hallway, I think the feedback I gave you was it'd be nicer to have him more engaging with his look, and that his clothing wasn't so tight or something like that.
Right.
Little tweaks.
Yeah.
And the building image, I think I wanted more dilapidated and more run down feeling. Yeah. But yeah, no, I felt like we worked very well together. And yeah, if there's some other image that comes to mind that you'd like to illustrate, I would love to, have another one. It's awesome, I think.
Absolutely. I think it's a great project. It's
so like what the whole thing about these testimonials is it's hard for people that don't know me when I'm saying I'm making a movie, I'm trying to raise money, I wrote a script, I. And it's not about me at all. I really did design it, and took me a long time to design it, to try to write something very entertaining and suspenseful, and in a genre that's popular, that at the end of it, 4 people will walk away saying that was fucking great, and 2 people will be like, I didn't like it, and then them going to a coffee shop and them talking about it, or people saying I don't know what it was really about, or what was this or what was that, and people discussing the issues that doesn't hammer people over the head with, but I think it addresses them in a creative, narrative way. Would you agree with any of that?
Yeah, 100%. And knowing you, as I started it, I'm like, I thought I knew where it was going, and I was wrong.
Then that's
so yeah, no, and it is entertaining, and I read it in like one sitting, which, I mean, it's not a big feat, but for me, it has to grab my attention, and it from page 1 it did. Honestly did.
So another thing, I don't think you came to my one-man show, the Love and Other Four-Legged Words. I think that was before we met.
I think so.
But you did come to see Killer at two screenings. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then the second screening,
Yes.
you brought back your daughter
Hmm.
and your daughter's friend, or your cousin or something like that.
My niece.
Your niece.
My niece. Yeah.
So
Hmm.
yeah, so maybe you could speak, like, no one else who's watching this. I'm assuming people are going to watch this or are watching it, but no one else has seen that movie. Maybe you could talk about what you thought about that movie, why you wanted to see it a second time, because I think that sort of, again, like, people who don't know my work, maybe they've seen me on a commercial, or maybe they've seen me on 100 commercials, but they just don't realize it. Maybe they've never read any of my books or any of my scripts or seen any of my films or plays or anything. But what can you say, like, about that project that could give them confidence in possibly donating to the GoFundMe?
Um, well, like you said, I saw it at a screening. I, to be honest, I don't think I knew anything about it before I saw it. Um, I I watched it, and it's like it's one of those movies that stick with you. Some movies you watch and they just they're gone. Um, but this one's like it was entertaining, um, funny. The storyline was great. The acting was great. I mean, it was a professional looking film. Like, it was like, I don't know how much money you guys spent on it, but it's like a just a regular Hollywood
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
You know.
And would you agree that at the end of the movie, people clap or cheer or are laughing or, like, are highly
Oh
entertained?
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, throughout the movie.
Right.
Throughout the movie, it's, and to be honest, that movie should be screened with an
I
audience.
100% agree.
Yeah.
I think that's
It's
a crime that it's not going to go to many theaters, but maybe in the future
yeah.
it will. But anyway, for those that are interested, it's called Kill Her with no space, Killher, directed by Robin August. It's available on VOD on the 20th of October, and very, very limited screenings. I think we're in Columbus, Ohio, I think, of all places. So we may be in other theaters. I don't know yet. Again, it's a couple weeks away. Brian saw it initially at Screamfest 2022, and we had an instant encore 2 days later, which almost also sold out. And then I think the second time he watched it was at the Valley Film Festival, which I don't know if it sold out, but it only had 1 or 2 open seats from what I saw. So
Yeah, it was full.
yeah, so I appreciate you watching that and joining me here today. What is your take in how people can help who are not rescues? I don't know about you, but I didn't go into this thinking I was going to become a dog person, or a person that would have people following me or listening to my advice, or watching my safety tips, or mentoring volunteers, or doing dogs that have bite histories. I didn't think I'd ever would be part of any of this. Never. Or writing a script that has anything to do with anything other than entertainment. But
Right.
so, and I know you didn't either. I know you were a projectionist. Is that correct?
Yeah. I was a booth manager for
At a movie theater, right?
yeah.
And so, what do you think that people can do that who aren't already deep into it, who aren't rescuing, who aren't already networking their socks off? What can someone that just wants to help a little do? What's the most that someone can do, or
The
what's the least someone
least,
can do?
the least, um, the least somebody can do is maybe bring treats and stuff to the shelter. That's like the very least, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I personally agree with, like,
re-
one of the least things someone can do is visit a dog shelter and
Absolutely.
just walk a dog shelter and see what it is, and stop using the excuse that they're too emotional fragile. Because
Hmm.
to say that you're not an emotional person, and that I'm not an emotional person, and that the other dozen of people that we know personally aren't emotional, it's kind of an insult. And so
It
while
is. It is.
I respect that people feel sensitive, but it's a little bit of an insult when someone says, I'm too fragile to go to a shelter. And I get the fear, But I don't know if you feel this, but I feel like it's worse putting my head in the sand and not addressing something. And
Absolutely.
like
Mhm.
the action that I take makes me feel better, even though my heart breaks all the time. And I'll say that because I'm involved in 4 shelters right now, no, 5 shelters, 5 different shelters. I'm hearing about all the dogs getting red listed and all the dogs getting killed, and my compassion fatigue is off the charts right now because it's brutal right now.
Yeah.
And then the shelters that I'm not involved with, a lot of people I know there are telling me about their dogs, and so it's constant. So I get it. I feel so beat up and ripped up, and I'm just trying to help. You know,
Right.
I wrote this movie. I'm trying to raise money. I'm trying to get people involved, and I don't know what else to do. And I have people inundating me with questions, like telling me what I need to do more. Um, and it's just like, have you thought about getting off your butt? Have you thought about, I think, so there's a lot of turmoil and controversy about our new GM. But one thing I think is amazing is, and I don't know if it was started by her or it might have been started by a rescue organization, but this idea of 1 day fostering to clean up kennels, which they've done at East Valley, and I think they're doing today at South, where the members of the public can sign up for a 1 day volunteer, and they can come in and clean a kennel. And I think it's excellent. I mean,
Yeah.
they've done things like that at the county. They have 1 day volunteers. We did that for the bed building. We did 1 day volunteers for that. People showed up. But I really think until you clean a kennel, you can't complain about a dirty kennel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
And
when you clean that kennel and you close it and the animal comes out and poops right afterwards, and then you clean it again, I bet you don't, number one, because you'll see like, okay, well, you could do this literally all day long.
yeah,
And
all day.
so there's so many people
Mhm.
willing to jump down the throats of people about dirty kennels. When I know personally that I've cleaned hundreds, if not thousands at this point, I've done a whole row, and by the time I've let the dogs out and walked back, 2 of them had piles in them already. And like, I can see the dog agrees with me, whatever dog that barked. But
That
like
was
by
so
the time
good.
you pick up those poops, 2 more dogs. Like you could literally spend your whole day on 8 kennels just cleaning them
Oh,
up all day, and you can't.
yeah, for
The
sure.
staffing's
For
not
sure.
there. The volunteers aren't there. And if you're doing that as a volunteer, you can't be walking. And some of the dogs that you and I choose to do together that no one else is allowed to touch or able to touch or wants to touch, some of those dogs take an hour each because of the permissions we need, the protocols we need to go through, the caution we need to do,
Yeah.
or if something goes wrong, what we have to do to protect the animal and ourselves. And so they don't have a worse history than they did before we took them out. And so it's like,
Well,
that's an hour. 1 dog is an hour. And in that time, South has what, 200, 300 kennels. How many dogs have defecated?
yeah.
Like you just can't. You can't.
Uh, it,
So
that being said, though, it's important to have the kennels clean because, I mean, I know you know this, but people walking through, they just
100% agree.
they just focus
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
smell and
Yeah.
the presentation, and I think it's important to have a good presentation so people focus on the dog instead of
I
the crap
100% agree.
everywhere.
And Melissa at West Valley, she calls, I forget what she calls it, beautification project or something. She uses some term like that, but it's true because the dog doesn't know what else to do, and it's so painful to watch a dog come in who's potty trained, and they
Yeah.
have to learn to poop
Where
where
they
they live,
Yeah.
and they do that, and then someone judges a dog for not being potty trained because they pooped in their kennel. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's important to keep it clean and try to keep up with it.
Well, and there's 2 dogs
And if
in a
there's 2
kennel, and
dogs,
they're
it's
just spreading it
right. They
everywhere.
start to paint everything with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like, and yeah, the cleaning it up is healthier all around.
Yeah.
I love that the county sanitizes, and apparently Stacey Daines is going to start making the staff at the city use
They
cleaners.
have been
Good.
in my
That's great.
shelter.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's excellent. I think that that needs to happen because the bacteria and all the and the fecal matter and all that, and then the spreading of it, obviously. But yeah, I just wish people didn't focus on that so much, or focused on the solution of that, which is, you know, raising taxes and hiring more people, or being more efficient with the people they do hire, or holding them to accountability, or volunteering. And there are some volunteers at your shelter that predominantly clean. If I'm not if I'm not stating that incorrectly.
Yeah, yeah. There are some that just will spend a lot of time cleaning.
Yeah, or I mean, yeah, spend a lot of time cleaning.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, on the weekends especially.
By the way, I just saw that Robin August, the director of Killer, joined us. I don't know if he's still with us, but hello, Robin. And Helene, I think it's Helene, donated to the GoFundMe today or yesterday. It's got, oh, yesterday, Y Day. I guess that's yesterday. So I'm not hip with the terms. So thanks, everybody. So yeah, so I guess in retrospect, it's not retrospect, in wrapping it up. Oh no, you know, I mentioned two more things, and that's teamwork and safety. So I pride myself in trying to be as safe as possible, and I pride myself in trying to follow as many rules and even additional rules for safety and protocols to keep everybody safe. But maybe you can talk to, like, I get a lot of credit from people about like how much good I do, and I try to respond to everybody. It's teamwork, because not everybody is as vocal as I am, or on Facebook or Instagram. And there's some people that are so busy and they're spending their time cleaning, or there's some people that don't record dogs or cats or bunnies because they don't have time, or they don't have a knack for it, or they feel awkward about it. So I personally use what I have, what I need to improve, the skills I've acquired. Yesterday, Ian asked me about my lavalier mics, because I use lavalier mics at some point. You know, some people don't want to do that or have a tripod or whatever, but people need to know that it is a team. Like when I go there to West Valley and I'm working those long dogs, there's some dogs I can walk by myself, but there's some dogs, not only am I required to have backup, but I feel safer with backup. Two sets of eyes, two more hands in case it happens.
For sure.
Person spotter walking down the hall to keep other dogs and people safe. But I really do think West Valley operates as a team. And I felt at one point that North did. I'm no longer at North, which is another subject I'm not going to talk about. But I'm a big proponent of team. And even with this project, this GoFundMe, like anybody that donates to it, I think is part of the team. And anybody that's on it is part of the team. And with Killer, I don't know if you noticed, but nobody has a film by credit. Nobody. Because I believe the film is by everybody. Whether you work on it for a minute or you work on it for, I worked on that, I guess technically I'm still working on it, but for 3 or 4 years or whatever. Maybe 3 years. But I think that it's all a team effort. So how do you all at West Valley, I know probably it's not formal in any way, but I feel like you guys work as a team. And do you want to just talk about that briefly?
You know, it's not something that we think about or talk about. It's just we just all really get along well, and you know, we don't want to leave, you know, anybody high and dry, or, you know, we don't want to leave anybody in a bad situation, you know, or, you know, leave them alone to do something. So I mean, it's not something we talk about. We're all friends.
Yeah.
You know, we're all friends.
Well, from the outside, because I although I'm there, and while I'm there, I'm part of your team, because I'm only there once every 7 days or 10 days.
You're part of. You're part of.
I
even when you're not there.
All right, I appreciate.
You're already part of the team.
But so. Even though let me just say what I was going to say. Even though I sort of feel like an outsider, I feel like you guys aren't even aware of how good of a team you are, and I'm about to cry.
Don't you cry, because it's going to make me cry.
Yeah, I won't cry. I'm not crying. Anyway, that really heartens or warms my heart. And we don't all have to like each other, but we all are part of the same common goal. And we're not all going to agree on the management or what should happen or whatever, but it's like, man, we're all just doing it because we want to help. And just to circle back, like, that's the whole reason. Like, you said something earlier that I didn't point out, but you said that you were willing to help out on the project even if you didn't like the script. And that's because
Absolutely.
you want to help. You want to help animals have a better life. And that's the whole reason I started that project. And it's called For Mr. Goo. It's on GoFundMe. We're trying to raise at least 20 grand for the pre-production. That's not the entire budget because movies are expensive. But at least 20 grand, and hopefully we blow that out of the water if we can raise the entire amount. But at 20 grand, at least I can hire a producer to break down the costs and possibly hire an attorney to write contracts. But you were willing to help. And then you read it and you liked it and you saw that it was gonna help. It was important. And then you were even more jazzed about it.
Absolutely.
And all these testimonials of people that have given that see that I am trying to help, and they are part of the team by trying to help. And so whether or not you show up at a shelter or not, just to see it, or you give treats to dogs, or you clean kennels on a day that they permit it, or you do foster, which is amazing. That's something that you can do. You can do temporary fosters. You know, rescues are all looking for short-term fosters in case of emergencies. Like someone's going out of town or someone just went into the hospital and they need to put their foster animal in a temporary foster. So if you can foster an animal for only 48 hours because you travel a lot, but you can guarantee you'll be in town for these 48 hours, you can help. There's so much that we can all do to help.
Just do something.
Do something.
Just anything.
Yeah.
Anything to help. Anything.
I think by showing up and talking, and not just asking me, quite honestly, don't just write me about how you can help, because I get burned out and I get snappy because I'm burned out. It's a lot. It's a ton.
It's a lot. And it's 24 hours.
Yeah, it doesn't stop. I mean, I'll have dozens of messages all day long. But you can show up at a shelter near you and you can ask them how you can help. And if someone blows you off, then ask somebody else. And if they blow you off, ask somebody else. Or contact a rescue and ask them. Because when I was suspended from the city, which is honestly was great, because I started at the county, which I love. I started at Ventura, which I love. I expanded. I learned more things. I started with a bunch of rescues. Not one rescue ever said, no, we don't want your help. Not one.
No.
And the county, even though they were a little apprehensive because they're like, why is this guy suspended? And then a few people from the city called on my behalf and was like, dude, it ain't him. It ain't him. Trust me, it ain't him. And, you know, like, I've been able to help more adoptions and spread the words and get more people there and possibly more volunteers. So we can all do our part. We can all answer questions. And I think the biggest thing is that none of us are right and none of us are wrong. It's a highly emotional thing, and we all just have to breathe and just do our best and trust that other people are doing their best.
Yep.
So
it's a constant work in progress, really.
100%, Brian.
Everything changes every day, and yeah, something new.
Brian, I've kept you for 46 minutes, so I know where you're going after this, but where are you going after this?
I'm going to the shelter.
Brian, you are a good individual.
Well, you are, as are you.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate you.
I'll see you this week, and we'll talk about who we're going to work with. And there was somebody coming to adopt a dog, so I'm going to ask about that dog later to see if they came, because if they did not, I will post the video I took of that dog. An excellent dog. But yeah, I made a hashtag several months ago called #1 for the animals, and it hasn't ever really taken off. But the whole point of that was just at least once a month, do something for the animals, whether or not it's even a post, just a simple post, even networking a post, like getting an animal seen is getting them saved, or
talk to friends and family about getting a dog.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, I mentioned, I didn't, Marlene from Australia, not Australia, Austria, never met her, seems lovely. She had a lot of stuff going on that was going down the wrong way. She started following my account. This is not to pump me up by any means, but I posted about it earlier. She started volunteering at a dog shelter just a couple weeks ago, I think. And she feels much better about the world and her life. And she is now has a project dog that's feeling much better about things. And like I asked her to write it up so I could post about it this morning and could see it in my feed. But it's like when we help others, it helps us. It's such a easy, basic concept. And in this world of narcissism and perfectionism and me, and Instagram, just look what I'm doing and not actually doing. It's so important, I think, to do good work. Things that I learned from role models that I grew up with, that has been around forever. It's like doing good for other people. And it's not just about how much money you make and what kind of car you drive. The real value in life is, in my opinion, helping others.
Yeah.
So I appreciate all the help you give me and all the volunteers at West Valley that they give. And I am happy that you consider me part of the team.
Oh, yeah.
And when
you
I'm there, I totally feel like I'm part of the team.
Good.
100%.
You are.
Yeah.
Right.
And I appreciate you coming on and talking about Kill Her, which again is on VOD on October 20th. Sorry, that's
great,
produced in me.
Great movie. It's great. It's
Thank
great.
you. And
while I watch it, you should watch it. I'm going to watch it again.
And the GoFundMe for Mr. Goo that people can look up on my bio and click on it and read about it. They can watch the testimonials or they can look it up on Google. Just look up GoFundMe for Mr. Goo. And Mr. Goo was a dog that unnecessarily died, in my opinion, at the shelter. But I promised that dog that I would never forget him and that I would do my best that other dogs would not suffer the same fate. So, Brian, thank you, and be safe at the shelter, and I hope a lot of dogs get out.
Thanks. My pleasure. Love you, Tom.
Love you too, man.
I'll talk
Bye-bye.
to you soon.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.